How did it go?
I thought it went well. I sort of expected it to go well, to be honest, but I'm off these bloody things, so that's a bonus. And yeah, now it's just the next step. You know, seeing him again in 4 weeks' time. But again, it's progress, so I'm happy. If we can continue with that, you know, then there's no doubt I'll be ready. But anything can still happen. But step one is good. I'm happy.
So at that stage, I was in 2 months. But to be quite honest, I thought at the end that he'll never be able to play again.
There's improvements. I'm happy. But good workout. Yeah, it's feeling really good. As you can see, obviously the strength not there yet, or where I want it to be. But pain-wise, nothing. That's a positive for me. So, I mean, I've been working with Steph for close to 15 years. So he knows my body pretty well as well. So, and I think the improvement that we can see, even you know what it was like post-op to what it is now, there's actually an improvement to what I could do, you know, prior to having the injury. So that's a massive positive. But yeah, like I said, not where we want to be yet.
Very good afternoon and welcome to the oldest rugby stadium in South Africa. Newlands is the backdrop for today's clash between the Springboks and the World 15.
Some new faces in that Springbok squad and a lot of people who want to impress the Springbok coach ahead of the Rugby World Cup.
You know, there's not many things in life you can do where you can go and eyeball each other and try and bash the hell out of each other. And then as soon as that final whistle goes, you walk off, shake hands, and then you act like mates.
It's trench warfare. You run onto the field, you know that guy trained really hard to physically impose himself on you, and you train probably even harder to physically impose yourself on him.
Rugby is the one game where if you're dominating physically, it's extremely difficult for the opposition to beat you just on skill. You know, so that's the one thing that we South Africans are very good at.
A lot of people say that it's impossible. He's going to be massively motivated to do it.
The fact that he's so passionate about the jersey, I think it's going to be a very special moment for him and his family, because they that live with him would know what a long process it's been for him.
We've tried to put a date on it now to be back playing the 11th of July.
He'll be ready. I know he'll be ready. And I know I'm going to stress, and I know he's going to stress, but when he's on the field, it's going to be like, it's going to be fine.
Much better by the World 15 in the second half. Whitelock, unable to break the first line of defence. Vincent Koch, strong. Harris, inside pass, predictable. A Scottsburg intercept. He hasn't got the pace, but he gets the support. Jean de Villiers looking for more support. De Villiers, the pass out wide to Villiers. Strong off first receiver was the minutes of it. And support, Corbus Rhinoff. Brilliant defense, Corbus Rhinoff. Kick over the top, Giolandi. Bounce, Damon Giolandi. Off the tail. We lost.
That moment he ran on the field, it felt like I'm about to run a 100-meter. My heart was about to jump out of my mouth. And I remember in the box when he was running with the ball, everyone used to usually cheers, go Jean. But that time everyone was like holding their breath. And it was just amazing, the fact that the crowd was so amazing when he ran on, and he has so many people that's behind him, and I think that helped him to be able to do that.
The 11th of July was a very big day, a very, very special day, because it wasn't only the start of our 2015 Springbok rugby season, but also Jean's first time on the pitch. And there was loads of excitement and loads of anxiety. Throughout the game, I kept looking at the clock. When is it going to be 60 minutes? When is Jean going to come on? And that I didn't want anything to happen that would change that.
When I saw Jean starting to warm up about 10 minutes, I'm getting goosebumps as I speak about it. When he started warming up and I saw him doing some of his drills, we were quite far away, so I couldn't see his facial expressions. But when he went onto that field, I was sitting in a box with the rest of the Currie Cup, Western Province Currie Cup players, and everyone just exploded. And it was as if we said, the show is on. And then for the next 20 minutes, there was only one player that we all watched. If I was close to him, I would have given him 10 high fives in a row, because I was just massively excited for this next step to be finished. Then we could move on to the next and the next.
I felt that at the start of his 20 minutes that he was a bit tentative. And then he warmed up and just got into it. And it was so exciting to see, make that break with Skalk. The crowd was unbelievable. I mean, the noise when he came out, and I was one of those thousands that were screaming, was just unbelievable, very emotional.
Running onto the field was just fantastic. To have been able to do it at Newlands was also really special, and just to get back onto the rugby field. So you're obviously a bit nervous going into it, and always going on as a substitute, you sort of try and do everything within the first couple of minutes. So it took me about 2 minutes to be totally dead on my feet. But with the work that I've been doing with Cheryl, I was very confident that I would be able to be at a good standard once I go onto the field. The eye is a muscle like any other muscle in the body, so the more you train it, the better you get at it. Whether it is depth, perception, peripheral vision, whatever, it helps with that. So for us as rugby players, you've got so many situations in the game where there's 100 things happening. You need to assess the situation as quickly as possible and then still make the right decision as well. And
we're going to make sure that by the time he gets on the field, he's better than he left off. So we're getting his eyes sharp, his brain sharp, his hands, his feet, everything. Ability to see space, ability to intercept, ability to make decisions based on what he sees.
And he made that break, and honestly, I almost heart went out to him, because it seemed like Newland swallowed him up, and as he was trying to get going, it was nice to see the old firm of him and Skalk, and it was a fairy tale thing, but didn't really finish as a fairy tale, because everybody could see there's still a way to go here.
Yeah, it was a big thing, wasn't it? We've all been waiting for this comeback, and I must say there was a lot of sucking of breath and going, well, he hasn't played any rugby since the injury.
I know he was extremely nervous and tense before the time, because I think the biggest question was, would the knee hold?
It was a good thing he took a tackle there, which was the first basically, and I think there he made peace with himself to know the knee's in good nick.
Making it to the first game, which was a major elation to get to, that's the line drawn, that's the new starting point again. Then it's the next phase, so it's going to keep on going, and I think it's very applicable looking at it like it's a journey and definitely not a destination it's going to reach.
One prize, one golden band.
Dames en heren, kan ek net vra om asseblief hier voor die paviljoen verby te beweeg. Aan die buitekant van die lyne toe, dames en heren.
I always knew that I'm not going to come back and be at my 100% best. It's a process that we're following. The first game, it was just getting through it, making sure that I could take a couple of hits, physically knowing that I'm fine to play rugby.
So the second game for Western Province against the Pumas, I wasn't aware of my knee at all, to be honest.
Yeah, Jean always has big goals. You know, he wants to score a try. We've gone from just getting him moving to getting him strong, to getting his control back, to making sure that he thinks rugby again, moves rugby. And then when he gets on the field, in the first game against the World 15, obviously I think there were about 3 or 4 situations where he could have scored a try, that experience coming through. And then playing the game against the Pumas, we had certain goals, but playing the game against the Kings, he said to me, Steph, I need to score a try in this game.
He's probably one of the greatest Springbok rugby captains of all time. You know, I mean, he hasn't captained them for a decade, but everybody knows in terms of his personality and his leadership style. And he's such a popular, well-respected figure. It's a bit curious when you look at a team talk and there's 21-year-olds who we sort of moulding, and then you look and there's 100 and something Springbok captains sitting in the front row. But he's as enthusiastic and as committed as everybody else. I think it's been a very, very good lesson to the youngsters that this guy's not too big for it, so you certainly have got no right to be too big for it, you know.
If we just take a step back, his second performance, only a few of us saw it. It was out in the Klein Drakenstein prison. He played 60 minutes, maybe not as high intensity as the World 15 game, but he got through 60 minutes. And I think what's happened, of course, subsequent to that is Damien de Linde and Jesse Creel have emerged as this great centre pairing, or potentially great centre pairing. So that's changed the dynamic a little bit, because now people are starting to think, well, should we look to the future or should we look to the past for the World Cup? So that has made an interesting conversation.
I think that is probably where the real devil lies at the moment.
Just 4 test matches remain, 3 in the Rugby Championship and the one against Argentina in Buenos Aires before Springbok coach Heineke Meyer selects his 31 players to go to the 2015 Rugby World Cup. Accelerates away beautifully, Jesse Creel!
At number 15, everybody said, who's playing outside centre for the Springboks? And he just answered them, he said, I am.
The Wallabies have been rewarded for their courage. The 90th match between South Africa and New Zealand. Look how strong he is on his feet, Damien de Linde. And Creel gets it through.
Creel says the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line.
Jerome Garcias blows the final whistle. Absorbing throughout the
He respects the fact that and he enjoys the fact that there's competition. I think he embraces it. And I think it's been very exciting for him to see, yes, there's youngsters now coming in and using the opportunity to play. You know, this is healthy competition. This is good. It pushes him harder.
You need experience in the big moments. You've got to have balance in your team.
There will always be guys that will be rating him yes or no. I think he takes it on. He's powerful in his mind, and he's overcome big hurdles before, and he'll do that again.
I can imagine what everyone's saying, and like the younger guys are doing extremely well, and John's seeing that, but I think he still knows what he can offer the game.
You've got to have a combination of both and a balance between the two.
He wants to feel that his body can take it, and he wants to run and he wants to be tired, and so that's hard as well, because life happens. And it's just, he's not able to just play and get knocked around, except at home maybe. But
I think the next step for Jean must be just to get into the environment of the soldiers he's going to war with. There are new players he hasn't touched base with. It's as easy as that. He must just go and funnel it down to one short goal, and that's the World Cup.
Now the key is to up my performances. You know, I've ticked the boxes, I've made the mental switch. I know that physically I'm fine to play. Now I need to be able to play at a level that's good enough to represent my country.
A very warm welcome from Growth Point Kings Park in Durban, the final game of the Rugby Championship 2015. South Africa and Argentina playing for 3rd and 4th place in this year's Rugby Championship. Front for Lavanini, and straight through the middle goes him off. Beautiful offload as well. Here's Marcelo Bosch in for the right away. Here's Imhoff. Juan Imhoff is in. 14th in Test Rugby. The back of the scrum, and Imhoff.
4 medics on the field, and there's a medical staff in the Springbok environment. I'm not sure that he should have called time on there yet.
And that will be that for the first time in their history. Argentina.
Yeah, I think it's it's just one of those games. That's it's sport. You try and do everything you can to play a good game. But on the day, first of all, I think we weren't good enough. Secondly, I think credit to Argentina and the way that they played. They played really well. It's just one of those days that you dread. I think about halfway through the second half, carried the ball, got tackled, head knocked me on the chin, and I fractured my jaw. I immediately knew something was wrong, and it'll keep me out for 4 to 6 weeks of no contact.
Does this change your plans?
No, I don't think it changes any plans. Once you overcome one thing, it's not necessarily going to stop there. There will be times when you get tested again, and it's how you respond to that. So it's testing times, and hopefully I can just get it right again, and hopefully I've done enough to make the 31. I think that's the biggest thing, and we'll have to see what happens.
Now, Jean has played 107 test matches, captain, of course, of South Africa. We know he's walked a very long road.
Yeah, it's been a tough couple of weeks, but it's great to be here now, and it's just fantastic to be selected for the squad.
I think as the World Cup gets closer, there's certainly the intensity and the talk and the excitement that goes around it. You bear in mind that there's most of all the teams around the world are now preparing for the pinnacle of rugby.
It's a tough tournament. The first few rounds are easy, but then the playoff games come along, and you can't have a young side. You've got to have some experienced guys around there.
It's tough. It's the toughest thing to win, and as it should be, because it's a World Cup.
That last 3 weeks, quarter-final, semi-final, final, it's like being in a pressure cooker. There's just no way out.
You've got to have experience in your team. You've got to have good preparation. You've got to have a bit of luck. You've got to mentally be strong, I think, and you've got to understand it's not like playing a test series where you might have 3 games and you can afford to lose one.
Every single team is well prepared. Every single team's got superstars. Every single team wants to go out there and win for their country. I think the difference is in how you handle pressure.
The reason the World Cup is so important here is like soccer in the UK. It is an activity which conjures up the hugest of emotions.
The one thing we know about sport, it's like music. It transcends language, it transcends boundaries, religions, race, values, worldviews. It's something that unifies.
There's lots of frustrations in our country. There's lots of things that people are dealing with, and people are looking for hope. And people are looking for inspiration, and they're turning to sport. Because sport is the one thing that's actually unifying us. And the green and gold has done it so many times for us.
When you have somebody who is in such a prominent position, showing that he can actually come back from something which is a huge misfortune, that should be interpreted by business, by government, all the players that make up South African society as the way to go.
When Jean got injured, he had no control over what happened to him, and he didn't have full control over how things were going to unfold in his rehabilitation. But what he did was he committed fully to everything that he could do in order to make things better, to get him where he wanted to be.
Life is full of setbacks. And oftentimes people will want to write you off or find it easy to write you off.
If Jean listened to the naysayers who said you're not going to get back in time and you won't be the same player if you do get back from an injury like that, Jean wasn't attached to whether he was actually going to come back or not. He could only attach himself to the process each and every day to give himself the best possible chance of the outcome he was looking for.
I think the big thing is actually work out what's facts and what's feelings, and because you can feel like everything's against you, but if you sometimes break it down, it's not actually that bad.
I read once where, everyone's entitled to be happy, and it's only you in your own mind that makes you unhappy. It's how you see things and accept things, and if you're looking to blame other people or be angry about stuff that you can't control, then you're going to waste a lot of energy.
I guess there's two aspects to a leader. One is what they do, and they can lead and inspire by their results. And the other is who they're being as a person. And whether they're winning or losing on the field or injured, they remain that consistent, inspirational being as opposed to doing. And that's something that Jean obviously has got, apart from having an amazing skill in the rugby field, he's got amazing qualities as a human being. And that doesn't change whether he's playing or not.
What's great about Jean is that commerce has always come second, rugby's come first. He's never been one to really push the commercial button. Jean's probably put much more hours into CSI, into charity, into development, into giving back.
I would like to keep on contributing in that regard and hopefully inspire and change lives if you can. Unfortunately, the platform that I'm at the moment, gives me that opportunity, and that will be taken away at some stage. And it's what I make of it after that really counts as well, and that I make a success of that. So what that'll be, I don't know exactly. Citadel has given me a platform now where I've been able to speak at schools and other functions as well, and maybe we can continue with that.
Has this recovery been harder than you imagined?
No, I think it's been easier. Because I had unbelievable people helping me, not only on the family front now, but purely on the rehabilitation front as well. Unbelievable people working with me. And I think the challenge was probably made bigger than what I expected. You look at it and people are saying that it's this massive high mountain, and then you go through it, and for me it probably turned out just to be a kind of a biggish little hill.
You think it's changed you?
I think it has changed me. Looking from the outside in, I suppose, outside the Springbok environment, outside the rugby environment, not playing every week, not being on the field, but being a supporter, being a spectator. I think you see the value of sport and rugby in our country.
We're looking around for things to connect to attach to give us that something to believe in, that's something to feel good about, that's something to connect to. But if we're engaged in each day in the process and the journey, and at the end of a day, we haven't reached the goal, but we feel content, we feel a sense of satisfaction, a sense of accomplishment, well, that's actually what life's about. And if we have that every day, the truth is, it doesn't really matter that much if we achieve the goal or not.
Things change very quickly, and life goes on. In rugby, we got to enjoy what we're doing. Even though there are challenges, you need to be able to enjoy the journey.
Jean de Villiers. Rehabilitation.
100 test matches for Jean de Villiers.
They all turned terribly badly.
It is a fierce rivalry between the two countries. They've been at loggerheads for, I'm sure it's over 100 years now, but out of that, it has become a fierce respect for one another. And I think the thing that's allowed that to stay that way is the humbleness of both parties. When South Africa have their turn to win matches, you don't see them carrying on like pork sausages.